Go to Costa Rica. Why did I go to Costa Rica? It's you're from the States, you're from Northern Europe, right? Then it's amazing to come down here and they throw the red carpet at you so much. It's not a place where you're vilified for being a white man. This is a fact. It's beautiful here. Come down here and the housing can be a lot more affordable. Can be, not always is. Can be equally expensive as Miami or even Aspen, Colorado. Yeah, the people are super nice, super sweet in general. Like, people ask me why I don't travel to other countries so much. I'm like, well, they don't have pura vida, which is just a more relaxed way. Like, these people had very little slavery. These people, there's very little indigenous people in the area that we call Costa Rica right now. So when the Spaniards first came to conquer, they didn't have to slaughter so many indigenous people. They didn't have to enslave so many people. They didn't have to have... They weren't part of the African slave trade, because Costa Rica on the Caribbean side isn't hospitable towards big agriculture, where a lot of other Central American countries and even North and South America is just more hospitable for big ag. So then you need slavery with big ag. And then so these people are more homogenous. It's not such a diverse place with ways of thinking, and which is a good and a bad, but they look at each other more like family, right? And when you have that family, then you're more respectful of each other, and when you have problems with your family members, you're more easily like let it roll off your shoulders, or roll off your back. And that's kind of how the whole country works. And then it's a prosperous place. It's a beautiful place. Most of the people live in this high central valley. La Macha, I think they call it, which is like the metro area. And yeah, on the beach, I live on the beach for on and off for a decade or more. And now I'm just enjoying up in the beautiful crisp weather. I could almost have a sweatshirt on right now, as it's January 1st, 2026, starting this new year. And yeah, so down in Latin America, there's not... You're supposed to pay taxes, for instance, income or property, but there's no enforcement agency to make you pay taxes. You're just supposed to do it. It's more of an honor code. They don't have an IRS to come and remove your house and come and take everything from you, and they don't have such a prison system down here. It's not a prison for profit system. Like, if you go to prison, you've done bad, not petty stuff that you go to prison in the States for. Why else would I come to Costa Rica? And it's kind of a question of why would you leave where you're from, and also why would you go where you're going? And an interesting thing is a lot of people, the people who are running from something, honestly, like a lot of people come down here and they're like, oh, I want to escape the Matrix, I want to escape America. And you don't realize Costa Rica is a state. It's a United States. It's owned and operated by the United States. The banking system is Israeli, just like everywhere else in the world. You're not escaping that much, to be honest. There's a declaration, there was a treaty that Abraham Lincoln signed that said, if you, right at the end of the Civil War, if you attack any country in North, Central, or South America, it's a declaration of war on the United States. Why has mainland North, Central, South America never been invaded by any other powers? Well, because they don't want to mess with the United States Army. And the United States Army is very potent. The United States Army owns 1/3 of Costa Rica. The propaganda that says that the Costa Rican government puts out It says Costa Rica is the greenest country in the world, and 1/3 is national forest, 1/3 of the land mass. And this is true. But what they're not telling you is that the Costa Rican government in the 80s was going bankrupt, and the only way they could keep their basic services of water and of government service, the basic government services, was they started to borrow money from the United States, $1 million a day in the 1980s money. And it took them almost about a year before they equalized, and they didn't need that money anymore. And the United States says, okay, well, what we're going to do is we're going to take 1/3 of your land as a payment. And we're not going to do anything with it, but you can't do anything with it either. And it's national forest. It's not national forest the way the States is, where you can just willy-nilly go in and camp for 2 weeks at a time and go hiking and just be by yourself and go from spot to spot to spot without paying any money. It's a different setup where you can't enter the national parks without paying money, the national forests. And if you want to go into the bigger national parks, there's beaches that you can go explore by yourself, national park beaches. But the interior national parks, you can't access without a national forest worker accompanying you the entire time. This is not a cheap thing, and this is by appointment based only. And then there's designated campsites, right? That the national forest worker can take you. And there's very, very limited options. So, what does that got to do with why you want to come here? Well, it's a beautiful, safe place. They're trying to keep it clean, right? The crime rates are generally very petty. Because they didn't have slavery, they don't have gang problems. If you talk to the locals, they'll say, oh, there's dangerous places, and no, we do have those gang problems. But then when you inquire a little bit more, it's not actually gangs like the United States. It's narco gangs, right? It's mafias from Colombia, Mexico, and Jamaica are the main three. And it's mainly Colombia and Jamaica that come down here and come up here, depending where they're coming from, and they just want to sell their narcotics, right? They don't want to, they're not street gangs, they're not all wearing red and black or whatever, and they don't got their hats turned a certain way with gang tattoos and spray paint to mark their territories. They're not street level gangs. They're high level businesses. And they might have some enforcement, because in Latin America, in Costa Rica specifically, but I'm sure it's the same in the rest of Latin America, almost everything is on payment plans, right? So what's that mean? So like, same way in the States that the banks own everything and no one owns their car and no one owns their houses. Well, most people down here do own their house, but they don't own their car. A lot of people don't own their washing machines, and they don't own their TV. They go to a rent-a-center to buy these things. A rent-a-center that you pay, 25, 50% more than if you bought it with cash, and the cash price at the rent-a-center is usually 50% more, or even 75% more than if you go to the local Walmarts. And Walmart being a brand name, but it's actually a conglomerate and an umbrella. So in Latin America, in Costa Rica, there's it's like Mas por Menos, Maxi Pali, Pacifico Supermercado. I know there's a couple more. Walmart has just bought up every grocery chain it could possibly buy up in the entire world, right? And this is actually a good thing, but because before they were buying it from these rent-a-centers, which, as I'm told, are narco-owned rent-a-center type buildings, Manj and Goyo being the main two that come to mind. So that everybody's paying more. So even with the narcos, no one's buying the stuff with cash. Everybody's getting it payment plans, right? Which is an interesting way to just is like a side note. But then also, because the bank don't own things, the bank doesn't own the properties. You cannot get a mortgage in this country for land or a house. You can get a loan for land or house, but it's not considered a mortgage, right? The insurance companies are not involved, and you have to have like amazing credit, but it's not a mortgage. It's just a loan, right? So they can't take your house from you, right? They could, I'm sure, take your land, but the house is not the value, it's the land. So, that being said, I can come on down here, anybody can come on down here and buy land from a man to man, what we would call rent to own. And everything is for sale. Anything you like, and that's the old joke, is everything and everyone is for sale down here. You just have to approach what you want to buy and make an offer, talk to the owner. And then, like, I bought land and then slowly built a house. It was really easy. I knew where I wanted to buy at. I started a Facebook account. I sought out people. I made a general post into a local group of where I wanted to buy, saying I want to buy land in this specific area. I have some down payment, and who wants to work with me on a payment process? And I would say 30 to 50 people reached out to me. I've seen about 85 properties in one specific area with a population of less than 10,000 people. That's how many people were willing, right? And people, well, isn't that risky? No, it's not risky, because you have a lawyer verify that this person owns it. You have a lawyer verify the payment plans. Every time I make a payment, we went to a notary, a lawyer that was a notary, to redo our contract. And then each lawyer would double check to make sure everything is legal with the government in the capital city, which I'm on the outskirts of San Jose right now. So, yeah, it was really awesome, and you can name your payment plans. You can whatever. It's man to man. It's rent to own. So that is like really amazing. Like, how do you circumnavigate the banks and the insurance company? How do you circumnavigate as much Israeli interaction, as much big business, big government interaction? Well, this is outside of Western Europe, North and Western Europe, and outside of the United States and Canada. That's how a lot of the world operates. And then Costa Rica is more peaceful than a lot of the world. And there's direct flights. You can fly out of, Texas in like 2.5 hours down here. Similar to California. It's like 5.5 direct flight coming out of Denver or Chicago. It might be 7.5, 8 hours to return back to Denver or Chicago, where I fly in and out of. But it's very fast, it's very direct. I've gotten tickets for $88, direct tickets, before. That's very cheap, and that was during the time of the government lockdowns. It's also when I bought my property, was when the government lockdowns. Because COVID wasn't a real thing. It wasn't a real deadly thing. It was just a named sickness. If we named all our sicknesses, we'd all be scared all the time. And for me at the time, when I bought the land, I was going to travel the world, but the whole world had locked down and was not allowing foreigners in. Just out of fear, propagating fear and fear-mongering. And Costa Rica, they let me in, and I already have a base here. I've already come back and forth, so okay, perfect. It's one of the only countries that didn't lock itself down. And that's a good note for in the future, is that they're not going to lock themselves down in the future as well. Where other countries still might, you know. So such a long list. You know, the women are very beautiful in Costa Rica. I find them very aesthetically pleasing. They're becoming more modern, which modernity breaks the family and breaks the genuine beauty that comes from within. Everybody's chasing the dollar. So the world just is going to change. But Costa Rica is still extremely beautiful. I mean, where I'm at right now is the Casa de Piedra Escazú, Costa Rica, the House of Stone. This is very similar to the House of the Rock in Wisconsin. Very beautiful place. I'm renting out this basic mansion for $40 a night. I mean, plant that seed right there. It's amazing. There's tons of rooms and space. I don't even need that much space. And you can find good deals like this if you search around. It's not going to be available on Airbnb. You got to put your due diligence in. And yeah, it's like you can thrive down here. I'm up near 4,000 feet elevation, about 9 degrees above the equator. You can see behind me there's tropical plants growing, but it's actually quite chilly. Last night I needed several blankets. to go to sleep, and I'm a Wisconsinite, so that should say something about how chilly and just comfortable it gets. Because for the brain, we need to sleep at high elevations or cold. It helps the brain recharge. And this is a direct equivalation that you can see with traditional IQ rates across the world, where they're either far away from the equator or they're high elevation near the equator. Whether this means anything to you or not, but my brain, I like to let it recharge, and the cool nights help me recharge. So if you're going to live on the beach, I need air conditioning, or you can just live in the higher mountains where we are now, in what many people have referred to as the Hollywood Hills of Costa Rica. It's very nice, very safe, very pretty up here, and this is sacred indigenous land, and of course, being sacred indigenous land, it's where the Spaniards had murdered everybody, right, when they came through, because Catholicism hates indigenous people who don't conform, right? They're considered devils, demonic, which, as we know now, is silly talk. But there was very few of them, so they didn't have to kill too many, and they didn't. Where other parts of the world, and especially in Latin America, they had to slaughter a lot of these people, and then the discontent that grows from that is it's not good, and then it creates so many problems. You can compare Costa Rica to its neighbors, Panama and Nicaragua, of being very dangerous places in certain areas that Costa Rica is not. You know, the media might like to say how dangerous Costa Rica is getting. Well, it isn't anything in comparison to the United States. You never run into homeless camps down here, large homeless camps. They don't have the fentanyl didn't come up, isn't in Costa Rica. They have cheaper drugs that aren't as dangerous and is family, community impacting. Some more reasons, like why would you come to Costa Rica? One awesome thing that I'm now learning is they have an extreme high concentration of jiu-jitsu in this country, like lots and lots of options in the main city, and in all the little beach towns there's options too. Many of them, the popular towns. And also another really cool thing that I've just found out, that any Olympic sport you can train for free at in this country with the Olympic team or members of the Olympic team. And I've just been training in Judo San Francisco, the neighborhood of San Francisco, and completely free. Had a 2-hour session yesterday. It was quite amazing, and was received and very well. Like they really cater to foreigners down here. They really appreciate us. If you get away from the tourist areas, in the tourist areas, we're a dime a dozen. Which is, who cares about you? You know, so then you get the tourist areas, and it's generally how much money do you have? Where in the non-tourist areas, they're just grateful to have a little bit of spice of life. Like I'm told, it's an honor for you to visit us. It's a privilege for us to have you here. In the tourist areas, it's not like that at all. And I've lived in the tourist areas for a long time, but I spent over a year of my life in the non-tourist areas, probably a bit more than that. And I've traveled around a bit, very extensively in this country, outside of the Caribbean coast, which isn't as appealing to me. The more dangerous coast, like the whole Caribbean coast on all of Central America and South America, is dangerous. And you could even say that in America, right? Upper East Coast being the obvious example. You know, New York area, right? And yeah, this is such a beautiful country. I can't even. This will always be a home, even though I've sold my home. I see myself coming back and back and back and bringing my family here and to this specific home. Like everybody's so chill and laid back, and this is actually a very financially prosperous area. They used to send all their people to New Jersey to make money, very interestingly and oddly, but now they don't. Now the people can make money, especially if you speak English. You can make money right here in this country. Like the digital the digital work and the tourist work is such high value. So, yeah, these are things to consider. And then, the food. Some people say it's boring in comparison to other places in the world, but I say it's just old school, like farm style, just simple food, which is I really like. I like the original old way they used to do things with cooking. Now they use a lot of soybean oil that is not traditional to Costa Rica, but other than that, it's pretty good. You can get really good steaks in this country from Argentina, Mexico, Nicaragua, and even from the States, readily available. Come back to the Walmart thing, where in the States we're like, oh, you work at Walmart, and people just hate their jobs for the most part, or looked on very lowly if you work at Walmart or fast food restaurants. And here they're valued, that you're going to get a 40-hour paycheck every single week, that you might be working in air conditioning, you might be getting a small 5% discount on your grocery bills, and you get something you can rely on, where mom and pop stuff can ebb and flow and you might not get any work next week, then how can you provide for yourself? So people really value the jobs that we don't value in the States. The lesser educated people, right? And then the higher educated people, they can get their same jobs. So there's a tremendous amount of tech. Dell Computers manufactures in the Central Valley here, and there's a lot of manufacturing here. This is a very stable country as far as if you put a border fence around this country and you could not let things come in or out, and they had to rely on themselves, this is one of the most self-reliant countries on earth. There's agriculture, there's manufacturing, there's a lot of peace and harmony here that other places in the world don't have. Yeah, there's the high mountains, the beautiful beaches, but it's like 170 surfable beaches in this country, which is pretty nice. Why else should you come to Costa Rica, or why would you want to? Or why would I come to Costa Rica? Why did I come to Costa Rica? Why would I come back to Costa Rica? The water is considered safe to drink. I like filtered, very highly filtered water. So that's not what you're going to get out of the taps. But all the water is drinkable in this country. There are other places, I guess, it is not drinkable. Yeah, the flora and fauna, that's obvious. That's just low-hanging fruit. It's not particularly special to me. You can find that stuff elsewhere. But what can you not find elsewhere? I would say just the peace of mind and knowing you're safe when you walk on the streets at night. I'd send my wife and my daughter, my future wife, right, out on the streets by themselves at night, knowing it's safe. This is the most lit up country on earth. They have a tremendous amount of hydroelectric power, and because of that the government-owned hydroelectric power that the United States designed, planned, and maintains. Same as the Panama Canal. United States designed, built, maintains the Panama Canal, right? And Panama Canal, the Panamanian money is all United States money. It's like slightly different, but you can clearly see it's minted in the United States, where the Costa Rican money is minted in Canada. Canada, I think, mints a lot of the world's money, but United States is very secretive of the money. It's not very important to why you would come here, but yeah, this is like a haven for a lot of other Latinos. This is here in Argentina has the highest GDP, has the highest income level per individual. And Costa Ricans don't escape to Argentina. Argentina's escape to Costa Rica. All the Argentinians say it's very dangerous in Argentina. Costa Rican people do not talk like that. It is very safe here. The United States is very dangerous in the inner cities, in the urban areas. And it's very not reported upon. We get flashes of the reports of of the danger, but the media, the Israeli-owned media, the bulk of media, they don't want us to do anything other than consume and think about being an individual. In Costa Rica, there's a little bit less individualism, which is nice. It's becoming that way. Like Fox News and Walmart and the Israeli banking system, it's all in Costa Rica as well. But it's not as powerful. And if you go to places where other Latin countries where it's less powerful, well, then it's generally less economically prosperous and it's generally less safe, and just the quality of life is lower. You know, a lot of Americans go to Belize. Belize is not a place that I would recommend. It's a place that very few people recommend going. And the only reason people go to Belize is because they're afraid to learn a different language or interact with different cultures. And then they go to, because Belize is an ex-English colony, so they speak English there, even though they speak Spanish there. And the reality is they speak a lot of something similar to patois, the Jamaican slangs, versions, very hard to understand English, but it's a form of English. And then Belize is a place that I would personally never go. Maybe the Caribbean coast, some island places I hear are very nice once you get away from mainland Belize. But in Costa Rica, they teach their children, they teach in the school system, they're teaching English and Spanish, not necessarily directly 50-50, but let's say 90-10 or 80-20, like they're teaching English in the school system here as a non-elective course. So I've never had to learn Spanish in the 12 years of coming in and out, spending a lot of time here. You don't have to. Everybody speaks English, and the ones who don't speak really well English, they want to learn English. So you can help other people out. You can be philanthropic and actually help the world out. And maybe the reason why they want to speak English is to make more money, and the pursuit of money might be, the route to hell or evil. But in the moment, and as an individual, I can help, and you can help, especially if you speak clean, clear English the way I do, being a Midwestern Wisconsin man. It's a good place to be. So you don't have to be worried about not speaking Spanish. And I came down here with just hola and gracias, and I would confuse the hello and thank you, because I heard that you didn't need it. So just speak English. And in a lot of the world, a lot of people don't realize this, that most of the world, you can spend your U.S. dollars the exact same place. Like everywhere you can spend a local currency, you can spend USD. And yeah, it's you can get an Uber down here. It's very suitable for foreigners to come here. Very appreciated in most circumstances, in most situations. It's a pretty great place to be. All in all, nothing is perfect. So, I mean, you make your own decisions. I make mine. I sold my house and now I'm leaving, but I'm not leaving for good. So, yeah, what else? Why else would you want to come to Costa Rica? Well, you might want to go to Asia, right? People go to Bali, Thailand, and it's so much more polluted. Costa Rica is such a cleaner, less populated place than Southeast Asia. Unless you're on some islands, right? The island life is probably pretty nice in Asia, Southeast Asia, but then the prices go up, right? Costa Rica is not cheap. Thailand, like a place like Thailand, is cheap until you go to the islands. Then things get dramatically more expensive, and then isolated, and you can feel island life, which is beautiful, but it's also a claustrophobic life. There's a lot of good reasons why I come here, and I'm sure a lot of these resonate with anybody watching this video. Herb is decriminalized. That's a huge plus in my book. There's a bus and walking and bicycling lifestyle that is not respected as much in the States. You're not considered a bottom dweller, a bottom feeder, just because you don't own a car. Where in the States, that's kind of how a lot of mainstream people view you, is there's something wrong with you, you don't have money or a license or something. And even down here, people might feel that a little bit, but it's more traditional. You know, many people still ride the bus, so there's bus lines that go all over the place where they just don't, it doesn't happen in the States. I could go fly into this country, take a bus to my beach that I liked, and then in that beach town, I can take buses to other towns, or it's very easily for me to ride my bicycle back and forth to several hardware stores and slowly build my house, mainly off of a bicycle. Why else? I mean, that's some pretty good reasons right there. The tropical fruit is good, obviously. Papaya and mango being my favorites that are readily available, and there's like a lot of odd fruit that isn't as readily available, that is tropical, that is not big agricultural produced, that is quite delicious. Everything in this country, this is volcanic earth, so like everything spewed out of a volcano, all the rocks and all of the soil, right? Like that's pretty neat. It's very similar to glacier soil in Wisconsin, where I'm from, obviously. The mineral content is very high. In some it varies, but you can find really rich black volcanic soil here. That pretty much sums it up, I would say. So hopefully you're subscribed, and if you're still watching,